Today we'll transform this simple loop into a pro-level Afro house groove in just 3 steps. My name is Yannek Mounts and welcome back to Production Music Live. Groove is key, so let's start with step 1, building the foundation, kick, tom and shakers. By the way, this template is available as a free download for you, so you can directly start and experimenting with the techniques, and all of the sounds come from the Afro House Just a Dream pack, link below. So kick is very simple, just hitting on every quarter note. So kick is very easy, done. Let's start adding the high end. So for the high end, it's not only one sound, it's a couple of sounds mixed together. So we'll start by layering a couple of hi-hats on each other. This is a serum patch, also available in the free download. So adjust the velocity here slightly, so it's always rising, and then we can just copy it over, like this. Now extend the MIDI. Now we'll add another hi-hat with a kind of similar vibe. 2 hi-hats layered. Already have some nice movement here. So now we'll add textural shakers. So for this I've pre-selected 2 samples. And you can see this one is sounding really textural. It has this nice tail. And this one is pretty tight. So we'll be alternating between those 2 samples. I'm doing it randomly here. I just try to not do the same pattern. So for the textural shakers, there's an interesting trick that you can do. You can enable on both samples the LFO and switch it to this sample and hold mode here. So per default it's sine wave, I think. So let's switch it here. And then you go to controls and you enable the pitch and you enable the panning. So let's have a listen to this. So with both of the other hi-hats together. So let's have a look at our loop and head section here in the pack. It makes sense to pre-listen to your audio in sync and together with your track. Let's add this one. And now we need a shaker loop, something that blends well, so nothing that pops out too much. This one is cool. So that's it for our cymbals and our top end right now. Layering is key. Those will improve even more when we add groove later in step 3. So let's continue with the tom. So this tom is a serum patch, which we'll be using to create a very simple groove. For every first quarter, we'll select the 2nd and the 4th 16th note here. Then we'll duplicate the loop. And here in the very end of the last quarter of our first bar, we'll add on the off head position. On the 3rd 16th note, we'll add another note. Then we'll loop this, and that's it. Step 2. Building a polymetric percussion groove. So what does polymetric mean? Well, it just means that we have different percussions right here and they will repeat each other rhythmically in a way that's very hard to understand for the human ear. And this is what makes it unpredictable and what makes it really groovy and like gives it that endless feel. So I have this percussion rack right here with some previously selected samples based on short transients and higher in the frequency spectrum, so no toms right here. You take your percussion, for example this one, and you just build a pattern. So let's say you have this pattern here. Now you start duplicating this, but not in a way that's very straight. Normally you start duplicating it like with this half bar here, and then it's just always the same, repeating. What you will do now is you just select any kind of meter that's not this one. So with giving it just one more 16th note here and now duplicating it, you can see that it's alternating and then it's looping again after 4 bars. So this is our first meter. And now we have other percussions. You select any metric division that is not dividable that easy, like a quarter or an eighth note or a bar. So we can do even bigger patterns right here. So you can also select here just an eighth note before bar 2 starts. So I think having a good interplay between very polymetric material on the one side and some material that's repeating and it's very like easy is key. So we'll add a classic dancehall rhythm right here, which is hitting the last 16th note of the first quarter here, and then the offset position of the next quarter, which is the third 16th note. And then you'll just duplicate this. Like this one, we'll just do 2 of them and then just take a longer value like this. And then I'm consciously not doing the duplication loop here on the 2 as I mentioned earlier. So now you duplicate it and now you can see it's always repeating on a different number right there. It's clearer to see with those figures as with the ones that are dragged more widely. So the most important part for building polymetric material is to duplicate your patterns that you've built out of 1 to 5 or 6 different steps in a non-symmetrical way. So now let's head over to step 3, adding groove. And this is very crucial, and it's not only about adding swing, it's also about adding velocity changes. Because by adding velocity changes to all of your drums, you can really give your track a coherence and a feel of like a real band playing it and having accents on the same kind of beats. So there are tons of different grooves. I can only recommend playing around here. I found some that work really well. First one is Disco Subtle Loose. So you just double click and now it's here in your groove pool. If you cannot see the groove pool, you can open up here. Second one is Disco Live Feel 16th. And then there's this High Life Clave Accent 16th, which is also really nice. And then there's this Dance Hall Percussion Accent 16th and the other one. So before we apply the groove to our track, we'll pull in some more percussive loops and then you will see where the real magic happens. Okay, so let's add some loops. It's very busy, but our groove will take care of this issue. I know it sounds super full right now, but that's where our grooves will help us out. Okay, first step when applying the groove that will take care of this busyness that we currently have is to double click on one loop or on an audio, doesn't matter. You double click, it opens up here, and then you select all the other percussions by hitting shift. Now you can see we have selected multiple audio and midis at the same time, and we can still apply our groove down here. The important part here is to leave out the kick, because the kick should not be touched within the velocity changes that will be applied now. So now we'll play the whole loop and then we'll add different grooves by just clicking here. Alright, so it's not making a super huge difference here, and that's because our global amount of groove is only set to 22%. So we want to crank this up to its max. Alright, so let's start listen to it now. So our busy drum loop just got much clearer by the groove, which is applying velocity changes here and there and making it much more aligned within each other. So not a lot of velocities playing randomly, but very aligned. So this is a lot at the moment. So we can just start and reducing the velocity 100% value right here. Okay, let's try another groove. Also pretty cool. So listen to the whole track without any groove. Really busy. Sounds like all over the place. And now with it. Gets organized. It's important that we have one groove for our percussive stuff and that we have one for our top shakers. So now you can search for shaker in your groove section, and there will be a couple ones made for shakers. So just take those all in. There's one that I've made. You will also find this in the download section. And now we just try to apply the groove here. Let's try the other one again. Okay, so let's listen to the whole arrangement without any groove applied. Just sounds all over the place. Okay, so let's add one more shaker loop and then we finish. Okay, so let's add this. And now we'll apply the exact same groove as we have on our percussive stuff here. And this will just create some high-end layer in the groove. So the groove is dancer perk accent. It's just layering up with the rest. Right, and that's how you get from here, without any groove, very busy, to here. So if you want to have more knowledge about grooves and Afro House in general, I can definitely recommend the Afro House Academy, which is linked down below. So make sure to like and subscribe and comment something below. Peace out.